This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. Has anyone done SSH last week? Anyone? Anyone practice with SSH concepts with EC2? No? No one has done it. At least you remember what we have done last session? What was that? So we have done SSH, right? Okay. SSH on where? I think I have given some scenarios. Anyone practice with them? No? Sorry?
Changes to custom.
Changes to custom?
Only my
What was that? What is that my ID? What is it? What do we call it? That's not SSH, right? Sorry?
instant changing of the
But there is a name for this. What do we call it?
security type,
Security groups. See, these are very basic services. So how are you going to practice the future? We have some advanced services. How are you going to practice with them? See, all the services is somewhat related, right? So the services we're going to learn, those are important services, and you need to have very good hands-on. If you don't practice these services, so there won't be any chance to crack the interviews. These are important services for us, for DevOps engineers. Okay, so there might be number of services in AWS. Okay, but the services we're going to practice, these are mandatory for us. So those who are interested to learn AWS administration or some other administration, you can learn the whole administration of AWS. That's different. Okay, so we're going to do hands-on practice with services required for us DevOps engineers. Those 20 services. Okay, and among them, these are very basic services. What is a security group? What is security group? What it does? What type of security groups we have? Inbound? Inbound, outbound? Okay. So why we use inbound when we use outbound?
outbound is
Sorry? Outbound is?
we are asking for permission, accepting permission, access.
What is inbound then? So what is inbound?
Inbound is type of access it accepts.
Okay. So type of request the instance accepts. Okay. Then what is outbound? What type of response it is going to send out, right, out of the instance. Okay. Fine. Any more things we have gone through? Any other things? So we have done SSH, right? Okay. So I asked you to do SSH from and virtual instance to your EC2 instance. Anyone tried it? No? Right? Well, how many of you able to launch Windows AMI, Windows instance? Fine, let me go through it. So what have you done? Tell me at least what you have practiced in the last session. Did you, I mean, you know that there is a text document, scenarios document in the Google Drive? At least, how many of you seen that document?
We are creating instance and government conference and creating feature. Connecting to Windows to the
Windows. You connect to Windows to PuTTY? I mean, your local instance. Don't say Windows. Okay, fine. Your local machine. Yeah. Yeah. Then anything else we have done? Did we practice with security groups? So you remember that we have changed the inbound rules, outbound rules. Okay. Good. So let's try that first. Let's launch an Windows instance. Let me show you how do you log into Windows instances. So when I say Windows means, again, this is EC2, not your local instance. Okay. Well, from local machine, how we going to do? So remote connection onto EC2, but whereas our EC2 is running on Windows. Okay. Well, then we'll be moving on to volumes. We call it EBS, block storage, plastic block storage. Well, quickly let's go through the Windows. Right. So this is our code. Hope you remember this. Now, launch instance. Now, so going with Windows. Okay, you can launch like Windows Server 2019. So there are number of editions they have, okay, versions. So go with some version, whatever. Okay, let's take this Server 2009, some SQL Server. Let's go with something. So what does it mean? What is that AMI means?
It's
What is that?
what is for
Windows 2009 with SQL Server. So SQL Server is installed on that particular AMI. Okay. Well, so select it, and then so next is, and you see, so there are some AMIs. They won't allow you to select the micro instances. So in this example, if you scroll up, there is no option. I can select that these type of instances. So it needs a specific instance. Why? Because of the configuration. Okay. So now let's go back, and then I would select some other AMI where I can create that. Let me select this. Oh, this is also an, okay. Go with it. Sorry. I don't understand. Sorry. Which one?
Windows.
I was asking which is prepare for that instance large size.
Instance? Say, are you talking about AMI or are you talking about instance type? AMI or talking about instance type? Which one? So that's why I asked you to go with, do some hands-on first. So do you remember last session I have shown you those steps?
For marketplace, we need to create.
Yes. Right? So that's why I do some hands-on. Then you won't be having these confusions. I given already this example, right? Anyone remember this?
Yes.
You try to recollect it? Yes. Well, so see, AMIs are, of course, see in this example, look at here. This AMI is an free AMI, but when you run that AMI according to the instance type, that is how they charge. Okay. Well, so in previous example, quick start, select that 2019. Okay, select it, then go with so T2.micro. Now, so is it paid or free AMI?
Yeah.
What? So if it was a paid, then there would a window would have been displayed saying that this is how much you need to pay, right? But there is no window, so this is for free. See in some examples. So in the previous example, I have shown you CentOS, right? So in that example, so AMI was free, but they charge according to the instance type. But there are some AMIs, they charge for the AMIs as well. They charge for the AMIs, also they charge for the instance type. Okay? But now, so network settings, okay. So go with the default settings, don't change anything here. And next is storage. Now, look at the storage type, so space. How much is the space? 30 gigabyte, right? Okay. So that 30 gigabyte is the default storage, and this storage changes according to the AMI. So in when I was launching Ubuntu AMI, so that was like 8, and for RHEL it was 10, right? That. So how many volume types you have? 4. Okay. What are they? General purpose, GP2, GP3. Then, okay, let's say basically there are majorly 2 categories: general purpose, and then again if you think purpose, we have provision DevOps, and then also we have the third type, which is magnetic. Basically, series 2, but that is 3. Let's say 3 types. Now again, general purpose we have 2 types. What are they? GP2 and then GP3, and then provision DevOps, IO1 and then IO2. What's the difference between general purpose and then provision DevOps?
You can change the ropes and throughput.
You can change the IOPS for provision IOPS. IOPS can be customized for the provision, and whereas general purpose, so for GP2, IOPS can't be customized, but when you go to GP3, IOPS can be customized, but also you have throughput. And so go with IO1. In IO1, when we use IO1, when we use IO1 or IO2?
We have lots of inputs.
For IO2, where we can use greater than 32,000.
Correct. Yeah. So IO2, yeah. That was IO2. If you like to go with like more than 32,000 IOPS, in this case, you go with IO2. And if you want to have IOPS, IO1, IOPS are up to 32,000. That's the limit. Okay. Well, see, there is a reason why I'm stretching these points. There will be questions on this IOPS, okay, on these volume types. Well, now next tag. You understand the importance of this question when you start attending interviews, right? Then you will understand the importance of it. Well, so Windows. Now go with security groups. And what type of rule that is? RDP. What is RDP? Remote Desktop Protocol. So this is like SSH in Linux, right? In Linux we have SSH, Secure Shell, and here we have RDP Windows. Okay. Well, now that's a port number 33810 for RDP, and custom or anywhere. So go with my IP, let's say. Now, next. So review all the steps. Okay, just a second. Previous. So we're setting up security groups, right? Is it inbound rule or outbound rule? Did anyone think about that? Did you think about that when you're setting up instances? Security groups have two types, inbound, outbound. Is it inbound or outbound?
Inbound.
Then where is outbound then? Where is outbound rule? Why outbound is not there? So this is what you do when you practice it. Don't just launch instances. Think about what you are doing, right? So no one asked me, like, so we are setting up security groups, but is it inbound or outbound? See, security groups are stateful. What do you mean by stateful? So whatever the security groups is set for inbound, the same security group rules will be applied for the outbound. That is what we call security groups are stateful. Then what is stateless? So when you have stateful, there will be stateless, right? Did you understand the stateful point? Do you understand the point? What is stateful? Whenever you modify the security groups of inbound, the same will be applied to the outbound group unless you modify in the outbound group. That's what we call stateful. Then what is stateless? So outbound rules, inbound rules needs to be set up separately. So when you set up the outbound rules, those rules won't be applied in the inbound, outbound. Yeah. So that is what is stateless. Now, so when you go to network level, so we set up some security groups even for the networks, but the network securities are stateless. So we haven't come to that point yet, but remember this point. Security groups are stateful, but when you set up the security groups at network level, see, security groups are set up at two levels. One is at instance level, other one is at network level. The security groups you set up at network level are stateless. These are stateful. Security groups are, for instances, are stateful. Well, so so review the steps, and next is which key? Probably I will go with that key. Okay, so that's our instance. Now we're going to do RDP onto this Windows instance. How are you going to do RDP? You need remote desktop connection on your local system. Okay. Why do we use RDC, remote desktop connection? This is like PuTTY. So what is PuTTY?
Process platform.
PuTTY is for connecting to Linux remote instances, and remote desktop connection is for connecting to Windows remote instances. Okay. Well, IP address. So remote desktop connection is there on your Windows by default. Most of the OSs, starting from 2000, Windows 2007, Service Pack 2 onwards. If you are using Service Pack 1 of Windows 2007, that won't be there, but you need to download and install that. But this will be there mostly. So, and what do we enter here? IP address. Let's go with the IP address of the instance. Is it public or private IP? Go with public. Okay. So public. That's IP. So what is the username? What is that? Admin? Admin or administrator?
Administrator.
Administrator is a username. Okay, then what is the password?
Dedication password.
So do you have password for Windows? See, when I was launching my instance, so what did we select that password? As a private key? No, but we have option to select the private key? No. So there is only Windows follows a concept called passwords concept. They don't have private key concept. Now, so go to the instance. This is our instance, right? Now click on connect, not connect. Yeah, go with connect. I think so. We can do it. 1 second. Just a second. Yeah. So click on connect, and then you have select the RDP client, and then so there you have get password. So how to get password? Look at the username, administrator username. That's a default username, and then get password. How to get password? Now select the key. So this is our key, right? Okay. So browse for the key. That's a key, and then key is selected. Decrypt the key. So there is the password. So copy the password. That's password. Okay. Okay. Connect. So very simple steps. Just go with first. Select the instance. Select the instance and then click on connect, and then RDP client, and there you have username. Click on get password and then browse for the key. You can see the key name there. So browse for the key, select the key, and then just a second. What was that? The password was incorrect or what? Let me just decrypt it and get the password. 1 second. Better I copy that. Yeah, that's okay. That's good. Administrator password. So what's happening? Credentials did not work. Why was it so? So let me try that again. Password. Administrator. So did I select the wrong key? So the key was correct, I guess. Because the message was credentials did not work. So the username and the password, they might be wrong. Okay. So, okay, now it's correct. Just accept it. So there is your instance ready. Right. So see, this is just like your launching an Linux EC2 instance. So here we have launched an Windows instance. That's it. Okay. Now you're connected to your Windows instance, and then so start doing your anything, whether you like to install them, you deploy something, you can do it as usual. Okay. So now we just tried one thing. Okay, what are you going to try? Just a second. So I have launched one instance, right? Windows instance 1. Okay. And you try to launch 2 instances. Okay. So you remember in EC2, when in our last session, I launched 2 instances for on Linux, and I have done SSH from instance 1 to instance 2. So how did I do that first? First, I have connected to my instance 1 from Windows through PuTTY. From there, I have done SSH from instance 1 to instance 2. So this is my local instance. That's my local instance. From my local instance, I have connected to instance 1. From there, I have connected to instance 2. So that's an important concept. So do you think this is not important? So this is important concept. We'll come across this concept later in the future. Okay, that's the reason I'm asking you to do hands-on with this. Well, now, so I have done SSH from instance 1 to instance 2. Now, try the same thing now. You have your Windows, which is your local instance. And from there, you do SSH onto Windows instance 1, sorry, RDP. So you connect to that, your local instance to Windows 1 instance through RDP protocol. And from there, you connect to Windows instance 2. Any idea? How do you do that? Then how are you going to connect it? Are you going to connect it through SSH?
No, through
SS
RDP on Windows 1. They've
Correct.
taken RDP from Windows 1 to Windows.
Correct. So, see, these are Windows instances. You need RDP protocol, right? So you must have RDP installed on Windows 1 as well. And from there, you connect to Windows 2. The same logic works like in the last session. The same logic. So there I was using SSH. Here you use RDP. Okay. Yeah. So now, actually, this concept we'll be talking about in networks. So networks, there is a concept called Bastion instance, private to public network connections. Okay, we'll talk about that. Well, anyway. So moving on to volumes. So when you just open your local system, let me close this, I don't need it. So open your local. So you have some particular volumes, you have drives, right? Right, this is for your Windows local. So what is that C drive? What we call that C drive?
Local software service.
Okay, so can we say it's a kind of a primary volume, primary device? Rest of them are secondary. Now, what's the difference between primary and then secondary?
Only who I can access. By default, it takes the primary location. Only administrator can access primary.
Admin can access primary. By default, takes. See, by default, it might take sometimes when you install some applications, it takes primary by default. In some other cases, it won't take. Okay. Okay. Primary is for, what did you say? Sorry. That's for admin purpose. Okay. Anything else? So what do you see on the primary drive when you open primary drive? So primary volume, you can say primary drive. So what do you see? This is for OS purpose.
Yes.
The applications run on your primary volume. Okay. Then secondary. Now, so do we use secondary for OS purpose? No. So secondary is used for data storage purpose. Okay, if you want to store some data, we use the secondary volumes. Firstly, and now I think you know what is the volume, right? So what is EBS or what is the volume? EBS stands for elastic block storage. So what is a elastic block storage? So volumes, whatever you attach to the instances, these are elastic. What do you mean by elastic in the nature means? So those volume sizes can be altered, right? You can change the volume types. Okay, you can change the volume sizes. Okay, so this is why we call them elastic. So they can be altered. Right. So when you talk about EBS, now there you have EBS, elastic block storage. Right. So we have launched few instances so far. For every instance, so when I was launching in the step 4, so there is a step called storage, volume concept, right? When you launch the instance, step 4, there is a storage. So every time when you launch an instance for that volume, so for that instance, there is a volume created. You can see those volumes over here. Okay, so these are the volumes. Now, so you see that for Windows, so this is the volume ID. That's my volume ID, and this volume is attached to the Windows. And I also have some other volumes, so these are attached to my other instances. Okay, right. So we're going to try that now. Once so an instance is created, can we alter the volume sizes? What do you mean by altering means? I want to change the volume size. That's the first thing. And also, can we attach more volumes to the same instance? We'll try that. Okay. Now, in that case, what can we attach? Can we attach a primary volume? Can we attach a secondary volume? So, can we detach? Can we delete? Right? We'll talk about all these things now. So, what type of actions we can do on volumes? That is what is important. Now, so the first thing is, so let's talk about increased volume size. So volume size can be increased. Okay. If that is so, yes, that can be increased. You can increase the volume sizes. Now the question is, can I increase that for, is it for primary or secondary?
Both you can use.
Okay. So both? Okay. That is answer is both, but we'll see. We'll do some hands-on, we'll do some practical experiments. Then let's talk about decrease. Now, can we decrease?
Yes.
It has the value, then after.
Sorry?
It has the value.
Detach, decrease. Okay. So what is going to happen if you decrease it? For example, say take your local instance. We know these things very well, right? So look at my volume. So let's take D drive. So what is the total volume size is? What is the total is? Let's say about 200. Let's say for D drive, it's 200. Okay. Among the 200, now how much is in use? About 159 is in use, and 23 is free. Okay. So out of this 200 D drive, I want to now decrease to 100. Can I do it?
It also potentially there is a storage.
Just remove it and then decrease it. Okay. So take that answer. Yeah. Any more answers? So it says remove the volume from the instance, then decrease the volume size. Okay. Yeah. What was that? Anyone else? Is it really possible to decrease the volume
It
size?
is, we cannot decrease the volume size, only increase can be done.
Yeah.
Because you'll compacting already used up volume is not possible.
That's correct. Right. So See, whenever you decrease the volume size, what might happen? See, in this example, so 160, 159 is in use, but you're going to decrease that to 100. How about the data which is there on the 59, rest of the 59 GB? Understand the question? So that's why decrease cannot be done, right? You cannot decrease whether it's a primary or secondary, even though, say, for example, I have 200 gigabyte. I've used only 10 gigabyte. Now I want to decrease that from 200 to 100. Right? Is it possible? So once the volume space is allocated, you won't be able to decrease it, whether you use it or not. That is different. Okay. So you won't be able to decrease the volume size because your volume does not know whether that is used or not. Since you have allocated, means you are using it. Okay. But so that is not possible to decrease it. Then. So can we detach? I think you understand what is detach means. So remove the volume from the instance. Okay.
Yes.
So detach means, okay. So not like removing, let's say. So this is the volume which is attached to the Windows instance. So like this, my Windows instance has about 3 volumes. So among those 3 volumes, I want to detach that volume from the Windows instance or some other instances. So I'm not removing it permanently. Removing means the volume will be totally deleted. I'm not deleting the volume. So volume is attached to the instance. I'm detaching from the instance, but volume still exists. Okay. So can we detach it? Yes, we can detach it. Now the question is, okay, if it is yes, is it for primary or secondary?
Only for secondary.
Secondary. Can't we detach primary volume? No. Why? Why we can't detach the primary volume? See, primary volume has OS, right? It has your AMI. So since primary volume has your AMI running, so you won't be able to detach it. But I say we can detach that primary volume as well. That is possible. So we'll talk about that. We'll discuss all these things practically. But it is possible to detach even a primary volume. But then, so this is for both actually. That's for both. It's possible for both. So increase is also for both. Primary, secondary. Now, attach. Then what type of volumes we can attach? Is it, can we attach primary? Can we attach secondary? So I think we can attach, right? Okay, fine, that's correct. Is it for primary or secondary? Both. Can we attach a primary volume? Okay, let me give you an example. Okay. So I have instance 1. Here I have RHEL. This is my RHEL instance. So I have my instance 2. Okay. So there we have Ubuntu. Now both have primary volumes. Both have primary volumes. Now, so what is the representation of the volume, or how do you recognize, how do you identify it's a primary volume? So primary volumes have some naming conventions. If you see a name with /dev SDA1, that is considered as a primary volume. If there is a volume name, so like /dev /SDB or SDC, SDD. So if you see something like B and C and then D, so these are considered as starting from B. So these are your secondary volume, SDB, secondary volumes. Okay. if the volume name is /dev SDA1, that is your primary volume. Okay. Now, even I have a primary volume for Ubuntu. So both have primary volumes. So your RHEL instance 1 plus Ubuntu instance 2 both have primary volumes. Now on the primary volumes, so do we have AMIs? Yes, we have AMIs. Okay. Now I want to swap AMIs. Okay. So I want to switch the AMIs. How do you do that?
Detach the volume connector.
Good. So you detach the volume of instance 1 and same time instance 2. Then volume 1 of instance 1 attached to second and then instance 2 to the first. In these cases, we can attach primary volumes. Am I clear? So this is an example why you attach primary volumes. Then secondary volumes, yes, we know it, we can do it easily. So because these are not secondary. Secondary are easy, like you create a volume, then with some size, you attach that to instance. So secondary is okay, but this is an example why we need to attach even primary volumes. Okay. So
Can I change AMI once instance is launched?
can we change the AMIs?
Once instance is launched.
I've given that example in the last session. So the question was, can we change the AMIs of the instances? What happens if you do it? Can we do it first of all? So, sorry. So once your instance is launched, so you have an instance. So did you find anywhere to change the AMIs? Is there any option to modify the AMIs? No? It's not possible, right? So you cannot modify the AMIs. But there is a way you can do it. You can do it through, so your backend tools like Terraform, that you can do it. But even if you alter the AMIs, then it will be terminating your existing instance. It is going to launch a new instance. But through the console, there is no option you can change the AMIs. But if you want to do it, so we need to terminate that instance and then launch a new instance. But is it possible from console? So straight away, it's not possible. There are some steps you need to follow. By following those steps, you can do it. So that is called like backups and snapshots. Okay? We'll talk about that. But from these options, it's not possible. Okay. Good. And then delete. So what is the difference between detach versus delete? Detach means your volume will be existing, but that won't be deleted. I want to delete the volume permanently. So can we delete primary or secondary? Secondary can't be delete for second primary. Okay. Right. So okay, that is also say for both. We can do it. So that is possible, but there are some conditions. Okay, there are conditions. The condition is stop the instance and then detach and then delete. Okay, but now, so before you delete any volume, for example, I have deleted a volume. On that volume, I have some data, but the volume is deleted. Then how can we get the data again back? What is that? So before you delete anything, what do you do? Backup, snapshot. You take a snapshot, so nothing but the backup, volume backup. So we take the volume backup. Now the example. Now, so in what cases we take the volume backups? Okay, I'll come back to that point. So there are two reasons. Why we take the volume backups? The first thing, you know it. For what purpose? For restore it. I want to restore that. You can restore it. That means volume is deleted. I want to restore it. Since you have a backup, you can restore the volume. Okay. So what is the other condition? So just we'll come back to that. Right. So let's talk about these actions. First, go with take an instance. Yeah.
Delete versus decrease.
Decrease. Delete versus decrease. What's the difference? When you delete, when you decrease. Decrease is it possible to decrease? Decrease means change the volume size, decrease the volume size. Okay. So delete is totally delete the volume. Okay. If your volume is like 200 GB, you want to decrease to 100, decrease the size. So delete means the volume won't be existing anymore. Okay. Well, so go with first. Take some instance. What instance I can go with? I can try that. So that's my instance, and just refresh. So scroll down, select it first, and when you scroll down, you can see the volumes. Just a second. See, should be there. Oh, okay, so fine. There is storage. These are new tabs actually. I'm not used to those tabs. In the past, they used to display everything right at the bottom. Now, so there you have device. Okay. Look at the device name. It is /dev/SDA1. So that means it is an primary device. So you see that it's a root device. That means it's a primary device. Root means primary. So that's a root device. Right. So now I think you understand what is an root device, right? So it's a primary where you have AMI running. So can we attach secondary volumes? This is the volume ID which is attached to that instance. That's the volume information. Click on the volume. Now you are in the volumes. And this is a volume ID. That's volume ID. There is your volume name. That's a volume name. And so let's go with actions. So we modify the volume. So what is the size is 10. Change it to 20. Okay. So now I change it to 20. But while you change the volume size, you also have option called you can even modify the volume type. Volume types also can be modified after they are launched. So you can modify the volume sizes, same time volume types. So I would go with, let's say, GP3. Yes, you can do it. Yeah. So you want to go with, so IO1. I can go with IO1. Yeah. But so this is how you change the volume types. Then and volume sizes. Go with GP2 initially. Change it to 10 to 20. Modify. Sorry, you want to modify them? Yes. Now, so they are modified. Just refresh. So it has been modified. Let's try with actions and then modify that. Change it to 10 or else change it to 15. Volume size can be increased. It cannot be decreased, right? Size can be only increased but cannot be decreased. Well, so remember that. Now, what kind of volume that was? A primary volume, right? Root volume. Now we'll try the same thing for secondary volumes. So create a volume now. I'm creating a volume. So give some volume type and then volume size and then IVOPS. So there it is, availability zone. I'm creating that under availability zone 1A. But what is my region? South 1A. That means Mumbai. Okay, that's my region. Okay, and then so snapshot, we'll talk about that after some time. And then you want to give some name to the volume. Let's say name is equals to, so some secondary volume, let's say secondary volume 1. So create a volume. So what is availability zone is 1A. Okay, so go with create a volume. Now volume is created, so that's a volume. So I have created a volume, but is it a primary volume or a secondary volume?
Secondary.
How do you know secondary volume? Primary. How do you know it's primary or secondary? See, this is just a volume. This is just a volume. So now we don't know whether it's a primary or secondary volume. So how do you differentiate it? It's a primary or secondary? When you attach it. Now the volume is created, right? Volume is created. Now we're going to attach it. Right. So how do you attach it? Select the volume, actions, go with attach a volume. So I would select my instance. So we have these instances. So what instance I want to attach to? That's my instance. Okay. And you see what is that? 1A zone. You can select the instances only from 1A zone. So don't understand it. One second.
We created storage in 1A.
But let me create another volume. So give some space, and it is 1B. Availability zone is 1B, and let's name it. Name is equals to secondary volume. Let's say 2. So create it. Now that's my volume. Refresh. Select it. Actions, and then attach. Now we're going to attach to instances. So previously I had number of instances, right? But now I have only few instances. Why?
These are 1B instances.
So we can attach that volume to the instances only under 1B zone instances. Why? Since my volume also was created in the 1B zone. But I have created that volume by mistake in 1B zone. Can't be attached to 1A zone. So it is not possible now, but there is a way you can change the availability zone, or you can even change the, what is that? Regions. Now I'm creating a volume under Mumbai region with 1B zone. I want to have my volume under some US East 1, some 1A zone. So how is that possible? So that is another scenario. So where we need snapshots. Okay. So change regions, change the volume region, and also availability zone. In these cases, we need snapshot, nothing but backups. Okay. Well, so go with that. So take an instance, but go with the previous volume. That's secondary volume 1. Attach a volume. So what is the instance? So one, okay, this is the instance, inbox instance. Okay. Now look at the volume name, device name, /dev/SDA, SDF. Okay. So if it is SDF, now is it a primary or secondary? Secondary. So starting from SDB, these volumes are secondary. If you go with SDA1, that is your primary. But can I make this secondary volume as my primary? Or else this is just a volume, okay? So I don't know whether it's a primary or secondary. Can I make it as my primary volume? Yes? What's the concept of primary volume? It has to have AMI, but does it have AMI? So you cannot make it as a primary. You must have OS, AMI. Since I don't have the AMI, I cannot make it primary. Okay, so go with SDB. Now attach. Sorry, yeah, attach it now. So once it is attached, you can see that attach information here. That's my instance. Okay, so this is your. Just refresh it. Now we have so 2 volumes. So this is a primary, that's a root device. Then I have my secondary device. Okay, so that is your root device. But you have totally 2 devices. So there is no information what is the primary, what is the secondary. The only thing is with the device name. That is how you differentiate it's a primary or secondary. Okay. Now can we detach that secondary volume now? Can I detach it?
No.
Can I detach?
Yes.
Select it, detach. This detach. So secondary volume can be created, can be attached, can be detached without any issues. And we can also increase the volume sizes. Yes, we can do it. When I can do for primary volume increase size, why can't I do it for secondary? So I can do for secondary. Now we'll try with primary then. Is my primary volume is going to allow me to detach it? Okay, good. So moving on to the instance. Here itself, let's go with that. So this is my instance. So that's my volume attached to the instance. I can get the instance information from here itself. So we have that is attached to the instance. Select the instance. Okay. So check this, refresh. We had 2 volumes, right? Now how many volumes it has? Only 1 volume, which is a primary. Now we try to detach it. So let's see. Select the volume, actions, and go with detach. Can I detach? Unable to detach. So root volume. What? Yeah, it has OS, right? Since it has OS, AMI, how you will be able to detach it? Okay. So it is not allowing us to detach it, but so this was my scenario. Right? What was the scenario? I want to swap the volumes. How are you going to swap it then? So if you want to swap it, make sure first you detach it. If the volume is attached to one instance, can I use the same volume for some other instance? Can I attach the same volume to multiple instances? It's not possible. Okay. So you detach that from instance, then you attach to another instance. But it's a primary, not allowing me to detach it. So what are the steps I follow then? So anytime if you want to detach primary volumes, make sure
Stop the
First,
instance.
you stop the instance. Okay, then you can detach it. Now, go back to the instance. That's instance. So actions, sorry, instance state, stop. So this is being stopped. Just refresh the status. It's stopping. So check the instance again, back to the instance. So where is the instance? That's the instance. This is stop. Now we can go with, that's a volume, right? Go with the volume, actions, and then detach. Now I'm able to detach the volume. So what type of question we can expect on this? Now, if I want to alter and volume size, can I alter without changing the status, instance status?
No.
So when I say alter means you have multiple things. You can change the volume size. Volume size can be changed without altering the or without changing the instance status. You can increase it. But when you detach it, you can detach it even without changing the status of the instance. That's only for secondary, not for primary. And same thing even while you attach it. So do I need to stop my instance if I want to attach volumes?
No.
Not required. So even while your instance is in running status, you can attach the volumes secondary. But it is all totally different when it comes to primary. Whenever you want to attach it or detach a primary volume, change the status to stop first, then you can attach or detach. Is it clear? But now we have seen how to detach a primary volume. Now we're going to, did we detach it? Yeah, we have detached it as well. We have detached it. Now let's attach this primary volume to some other instance. Okay, so how do we do that? So this is my volume, right? Same thing, select it and then attach. Now select the volume. So sorry, select the instance. Now, while I select my instance volume, volume type or device type, what is that? SDA 1. Now, in this case, this will be working as your primary volume. By mistake, if you attach that as an SDB, that won't be considered as a root volume. That still works like just like a secondary volume, just to store the data. That means this volume won't be loaded when you boot it, or your instance won't be booted from this volume. This is not a primary volume. So change it to SDA1. If you change it to SDA1, this instance, this volume will be booted as your root volume, so that OS will be loaded from this volume. Okay, so attach. So I cannot do it.
Detach that instance.
Yes, because the other instance already has a primary volume. So an instance cannot have multiple primary volumes. It can have multiple secondary volumes, but not primary volumes. Right? So just see, very simple. Check your local instance. Can we have multiple C drives? So you can have, say, C is your root volume and other ones are your secondary ones. We can have multiple secondary, but not multiple primaries. Okay. So now this is what you try. From the other instance, you detach the primary volume and then attach this primary to the second instance as a primary. Then you check that this is a scenario. That's a scenario. Okay, so I want to swap the AMIs of these two instances. Simple. And after you swap the volumes, root volumes, check that finally your instance 1 should have Ubuntu, instance should have RHEL.
Both instances
Okay.
must be within same availability.
Of course. So they must be in same availability zone, same region also. Okay. That's your scenario. So can we delete the primary? Can we delete primary? Can you delete a primary? So even if you want to delete a primary, first instance needs to be stopped.
Stop.
So that is just like deleting a volume. So first we'll try with secondary volumes, delete them. Volumes. So secondary volume, actions, you can delete volume, can be deleted. The same thing. So we have primary volume, right? So now where is the primary volume for inbox instance, right? Inbox instance. So that's a volume. This one or this one?
It will be
21. Does not exist. 1 second. That's not the one. No, the instance, that is not the instance. I think this is the instance volume, I guess. Where is that? I don't remember what was that. Okay, we'll take some other instance volumes. I don't remember that. Is it this one or that one? So we'll take that instance. Probably that works. These are running status. Just a second. We take some other instances. Probably we can take that instance. So does it have a primary root volume? Okay, that's a root volume. Select the root volume. And then actions, you can delete. So I cannot delete. So why? Okay. So even though instance is stopped, it's not allowing me to delete it, right? The reason is it is attached status. So if the volumes are attached, so you cannot delete the volumes. Make sure first you detach them. Okay, back to the volume, and then actions, and then detach volume. So is it primary device or not? That's a primary device, right? Now just wait for some seconds. Actions, and then delete volume. I can delete. So was it a primary? Yes, it was a primary. It was a root device. So am I able to delete it? I'm able to delete it. But make sure first, so it is detached. But if you want to detach it, first stop the instance. Stop the instance, detach it, then you delete it. Okay? But that was a primary volume. So that was important volume for me, but the volume is deleted. Yeah. Now how I can restore it now? So here comes snapshots. So there you have snapshots. So what is the purpose of snapshots? Snapshots are for volume backups. So whenever you delete any volume, could be a secondary or a primary, first take a snapshot of it. Once you take a snapshot, then you will be able to delete the volumes. Otherwise, don't delete the volumes. So snapshots, I would create a snapshot. You can do it from here or else. So the best way is go to volumes, and then for which volume you want to take a snapshot, select that volume, something like secondary volume, and then actions. Sorry. So what is that? Create a snapshot. There it is. Now, so description, let's say snapshot for secondary volume 1. It's a description and also give a name. Name is equals to, and that's a name, create a snapshot. That's a snapshot. And now we can delete the volume, secondary volume. So actions and then delete the volume. So since I have a snapshot, I don't need to worry about that. So whether volume is deleted, because I can restore that from the snapshot. How do we restore from the snapshots? So these concepts are very, very easy, simple. You understand it. Now select the volume, select the snapshot, I'm sorry, and then create a volume. So while you create a volume, so do we have option to change the availability zone? Can I change the availability zone? Yes. So this is the answer for the previous question. I have created my volume under 1B zone instead of 1A zone. How do we change the volume availability zone?
Take this snapshot from.
Yeah. So take this snapshot of the volume and then create that volume. Now with the help of snapshot, you create a volume, new volume again, and while you create that, you can select your availability zone. So I can select only availability zone, right? But how about region? Can I select the region? So is there any option to select the region? No, right? But I want to change my volume region. How do we do that? Okay. But first we'll talk about this volume and then just say name and also give some name. So restore secondary volume. So just, and you can also change the volume types while you create it and create a volume. That's a volume. So this is a snapshot, right? So this is a volume. Now I can action, attach a volume. You can attach to the instance. That's a secondary. So attach it. Now that is attached. Okay. So remember these points. These points are like, especially when you talk about removing a volume and it has a snapshot taken already. So whether it's a primary or secondary, don't delete them. You can delete them after you take a snapshot. And taking a snapshot is not charged. It is for free. But if you want to have the volume sizes increased, you'll get charged according to the size of the volume. Okay. So, and especially in the volume types, when you go with IO1, IO2, so those are expensive. If you don't need those IO1, IO2 volume types, don't create them. So you have created them by somehow in the somewhere in the, so like long ago, and then you won't delete them. You can delete them, but make sure while you delete it, you have a snapshot taken. So you feel that I'm paying too much for the volumes. If you are paying too much for the volumes, first take a snapshot, then you can delete the volumes. Okay. So we have seen how to take a volume backup with the help of snapshot concept. So how I can take a backup of my instance? Is the question clear? So far we have been taking volumes backups. Volumes are nothing but, so instance might have multiple volumes, right? Your instance might have 1 or 2, 3, 4 volumes. You can take individual volume backup with the help of snapshot. But I want to take the whole instance backup. So that is what we call images. Under images you have AMIs.
How much duration we can store backups in snapshots? Because then you need to store.
Sorry?
How much duration we can store backups?
Your choice. There is no time limit. You can store it
No
for
charges.
yes, no charges for the snapshots.
They need to maintain physical hardware for them.
For which?
Snapshots.
Yes, of course. Snapshot needs to be maintained. but that is not chargeable. Volumes are charged, but not the snapshot.
And how much storage we can take snapshots?
There is no limit. So there is no limit for the snapshot. New volume sets can be anything. You can take a snapshot. Okay. But if you create volumes of huge size, then the problem is not expensive. Volume performance issues. Right? If you have your volume, the whole data is stored in single volume, then you might have performance issues of the volumes, right? So, right. Now, AMIs, we have two AMIs. Well, I'll just back to the instance. So take that instance and go with instance. And is it under actions, I guess? Actions. Instance settings, not settings. 1 second. Image and templates. And you can go with create an image. Fail to describe. Okay. Volume does not exist. We have detached the volume. Okay. So we are doing some experiments on them. So that's it. Let me take a different one. We can go with that. So actions, select the Windows instance. Then
We should stop instance first.
no, not required. A second. Not required. So I have selected multiple. That's the reason. You can take some instance. So what happened was I have selected multiple instances. That's it. Okay. So then go with, where is it? Image template, and then create an image. So give an image name. Let's say Windows image and description, and it has volumes. So if it has multiple volumes, all the volumes would have been listed in the volume types. So here I have only one volume, but even while you create a volume, while you create an image, you want to attach volumes. You can attach volumes while you create an image. That is also possible. Okay, right. So I just delete that. And then go with next. Just create an image. Even these images concepts are important for us. So in the future, when we go to auto scaling, load balancing, AMIs.
And then we images also and backup of volumes.
Yes, images, that is what is an image, right? Image is your instance backup. Your instance has multiple volumes. You're taking all the volumes, you're including all the volumes within that image. Okay, yes.
Basically, ISO file.
This is not an ISO file. So this AMI, so is can be used. See, and now I have an image, right? Now after I take the image, I'm going to remove that instance. Okay. So after removing instance, in the future I want to restore it. How I can restore it from the image? Right. So this is an proper AMI. So where do you see the AMIs? When you launch instance, right? Go to EC2 dashboard, and here you launch instance. And in the first step, you select the AMIs. But I would select my AMIs. Okay, that is not yet created. So once that image is created, I can see that image over here, Windows image. Okay, so wait for it. Takes time because it is an Windows image. Yeah.
Krishna, quick question. So in
Yeah.
real-time environment, usually they create backups on, that is, they schedule backups on a regular basis, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Can we also schedule the images on a regular basis so there is a backup available, say for
Yes.
however long?
Yeah. Yeah. It can be scheduled. So if you want to schedule your backups, so I want to take my image backups. Okay, that can be scheduled. So again, so through the console, this is not so feasible to do it. So we don't have even options to do it through the console.
Okay.
If you want to take your regular backups, there's nothing. I don't see anything. Okay. So that's why again we use some tools like Terraform kind of tools.
Okay,
Using
got it.
in take these automated backups. So everything managing to the console is not possible always. That's why we have tools.
Thank you.
No issues. My AMIs is not yet created, but once it is created, you can see these AMIs like this. AMIs that is still being created. We can also do one thing. We can select the wall image from here itself. Then you can launch it. Then you are in the second step of creating instance. What was the first step? AMI. I already have selected that AMI. I'm just using the existing AMI. So it's already selected. Then you have the second step. You can do it through the launch instance step, or else in the AMIs. Yeah, it is ready now. Now I can show you that. Instances, launch instance, my AMIs, not yet ready. Where is it? There is your image. Okay. You select the image, and then as usual, you follow the rest of the steps. Okay. So go with next. Next. Even the storage, right? The storage is also, that means the volumes selected from the AMI. If my AMI had about 3 volumes, and those 3 volumes would be appear over here. But since I have my only one volume for that instance, for that AMI, I can see only one. If that had about 3 to 4 or number of, I can see all the volumes over here. This is an overall instance backup. That is what is an AMI, or you can call it image. Okay. Well, now, finally, talk about our instances, volumes. I've created my volumes under Mumbai region, or else I've created my instances under Mumbai region. I want to change the regions of these instances, or I want to change the regions of the volumes. How we can do it? First of all, you see, change my region to US East 1. Can I see those instances? The instances which I have created under Mumbai region, can I see them over here? No, I have no instances. Even when I see the volumes, those volumes are not here. Nothing. So the data, whatever you create in that region, that is region specific. You cannot access them across the regions. Then, so what do we do?
Select my AMI and launch instance.
We can start.
Okay. Yes, correct. So go with first. I go back to my Mumbai region. Now you first take your, since you are talking about an instance, first take an image for that. I have taken images already. Let's go to AMIs, images. So this is the one. And I'm going to actions, copy AMI. And I copy AMI, your destination region. Okay, select the destination region. What was that? US East 1. Somewhere. Where is that? Yeah, that is. And then name, description, and then you just copy. So are we copying the instance? Are we copying the instance? We are copying the AMI. We are not copying the instance. So images, say instances cannot be copied. Only the AMIs of instances can be copied, but not the instances. Since image is copied, to that US East 1. Now I can change my region. Stop. So there I can see image is being copied. Now with the help of this image, can I launch instance? Yes, I can launch instance. Okay. So that is how you change your instance regions. Right. Can I do the same thing for the volumes? What do you copy? Do you copy volume? Snapshots. Yes. Now, snapshots. Select the snapshot, action, and then you go with, where is that? Copy. Now select that region, and then just copy.
So why can't we directly create an instance in the other region?
What are you going to create? You want to create instance.
Will you be the AMI? My AMI.
So what if your instance has some applications deployed?
We have some storage already.
Instance has some storage. Instance has some data. It has its all configurations. How are you going to manage it? See, it is not just creating instance. So we are creating, the instance can be created, but how about the instance configuration, instance data, instance applications, right? So that has some different applications running. Then I want to copy the whole instance, whatever configurations it has. That is why we copy the images. It's not like just creating instance. Okay. So this is also possible. Select the volume. You can modify the permissions. So what is modifying permissions means? So we have this account ID. Sorry. Now what is account ID means? So for example, you also have an AWS account. Okay. And you want to use my image on your account. Then I would take your account ID. How do you find the account ID? Click on the account. There is your account ID. And then next, actions, modify permissions, again, and then add permission. So now that is copied to your account as well. Now even you can use the same AMI on your account. Okay. So see, images can be used in between the regions or else in between the accounts as well. Okay. And I can make my image is also public. Modify permissions and then public. If it is public, then in AWS Marketplace, I mean, when you select that, so when you create an AMI, so when you create instance, in the first step, you have list of AMIs, right? There, my AMI also will be listed. That is what is public. But if you want to make it private, only particular person can see, then add the account ID and then give him permissions. Then that user will be able to only see my image, not the other users. Okay. So now what's the difference between image versus a snapshot? This is some other question. One more question. What's the difference? Yeah, snapshot is just an volume backup, whereas image is it's an whole instance backup. Okay, that's one thing. And other option is just scroll up. So you have something called spot request. 1 second. Yeah, reserved instances. Okay. So what is an reserved instances? Yeah. So what is that? You purchase reserved instance. Now, what is reserved instance?
The database marketplace we are reserved inspectors. We want instance we are reserved that.
So reserved instance means I want to buy my instance so for certain time period, right? So I want to buy an instance for certain time period. So what time period? There you can see. So 1 month to 12 months or 12 months to 36 months. So now you select all the configurations again. So platform and instance type. So you select them and then you search for this. Now it is going to give you your instance cost, how much you must pay. Okay. Now I would go with, so let's say, select this. And you see the hourly rate, how much they charged? This is how much they charge. Yes, result is, so it is cheaper. Why it is cheaper? I think you understand it. Because you're paying that, you're reserving it for certain time period.
Like contract.
Right? Yes. So kind of a contract, long-term contract. Now, but there are some instances, these instances, you must pay that in upfront. That means when you launch instance, you pay for that. And after that, you can, so this is cheaper. So that's the purpose of your reserved instances. Okay. So instead of launching your instances, you can add it to the cart. Then once it is added to the cart, you just pay for the AWS. And then once it is paid, and then you come back and check your instance. In the instance list, instance will be available. Okay, that is reserved instance. So we have spot request. So request spot instance. So this is like, again, you are requesting that I want my instances with some configurations. The first thing is, okay, don't worry about this. Then you have instance configurations. Okay, your instance type. Okay, we don't have any templates. Okay, fine. Go with this stuff. AMIs. Okay, so select the AMIs and then you select your instance type. Change the instance type and your networks availability zone, and then go with all the links just like previously, and then it is going to give you the cost. But so in this example, what's the difference between the previous example, this example is? So in this example, you can see, but so you have some concepts over here, this concept, so you might not be able to understand it. So you can go with some spot request, like I want to have some load balancers set up. So you don't understand them, it's okay, leave that. Yes, all these ones already you can use it from the templates. So or else just leave it. So in simple words, I'm going to raise and request again to the AWS with my required configurations. What are the configurations again? Like I want to have some load balancers. Okay, I want to have my instance types. I have some templates. Okay, so I have some AMIs. So you can select all your network settings. But for the previous, so what was the previous instance type? It was reserved instances. In the reserved instances, you don't have these choices, networks and the load balancers. These were not there. Okay, so this is something different, but so you have some advanced concepts here. So you can select the load balancers, all these concepts. Then after that, again, it is going to give you the cost. Then at the end, you can see. Okay, so you just need to launch it and then you pay for it. So that's what is your spot versus reserved. Spot instance is, it is also you're reserving your instance for long-term purpose, but so you can select your own load balancers. Okay, if you already have defined them, if you have any templates, so since we don't know them, so you might not be able to understand it. So select all these settings, then you can launch instances. But whereas reserved instances, This is like you're launching an instance, just like a normal EC2 instance. No load balancers, no templates. After the instance is launched, then you can create the load balancers for that. Okay. Well, so yeah. Fine. So that's it. Yeah. So are these points clear? Now, what type of questions we can expect from today's session? The first question is snapshot versus volumes. That's the first question. Second question is how we can change the volume types once it is created, or else how we can change the volume region or else availability zone after they are created. And other thing is, without changing the instance status, can we alter the instance sizes as well as can we detach them or can we attach them? So these are the few questions we can expect regarding EBS. Now, so EBS, is it an service? Is it there under services?
Storage.
Can you see the EBS? So this is an integrated option, integrated service within that instance in EC2, correct? So within the instance itself, within the EC2, I mean, so this is available within the instance. This is not a separate service. Remember this point. We'll come back to this point and we'll discuss that in securities. IAM. Okay. So what? Okay, there is a reason I'm not going to discuss that. But this is not a separate service. This is an integrated. So as a part of EC2. So that is what is your EBS. So we'll come back to this EBS, but we're not going to discuss that in detail, but we'll talk about its securities. Okay, what do you mean by security? So I have my team. Okay, my team is everyone is going to log into my AWS account. Right. So some of my team members have deleted a volume. Right. Is it secured? No, I want to make some securities, provide some securities. Some of them have deleted my images. Then where is the backup? There is no backup, right? How you can make that secure? I don't want anyone to access my backups. That means my images or my snapshots. So we can make it possible with the above securities. So we'll talk about that in the future. Okay. Yeah, thank you. And online students, so please like to remind you. So tomorrow you might be sent a new link, new meeting link. Please log in with the new meeting link for AWS. Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, regarding the scenarios, so it's already there. The document is already there in the drive. In practice these scenarios. CloudWatch, we'll talk about that in tomorrow, these things. So now practice these ones. So these are the scenarios you can practice. So create volumes and try for primary, secondary, and also perform all these actions. We have seen those actions. And then try this. This is a scenario. Swap the primary volumes for both instances. Secondary volumes can be done easily, but so this is what you're going to try. Image, take an image on instance 1, launch a new instance. Well, so this is one more scenario. Why we need an image? So why do we need an image? I have already an instance. Okay, I want to create a replica of the instance. Clear? I have instance 1. I want to create instance 2. Instance 2 is a replica of instance 1. How do you do that? Again, image, right? There. So copy the instance volumes from one region to another region and copy the AMIs into other AWS accounts. That's the last one we have seen. Okay. Well, so yeah, any questions? So do some hands-on. AWS is equally important. Okay. Well, thank you. I'll see you back tomorrow.